Thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Cameron V. Peebles, and I'm Chief Marketing Officer for InMarket, a leading location analytics and media company, reaching over 50 million Comscore verified users in the U.S. Today's webinar, titled Anatomy of a Hyper-Successful Ad Campaign, is going to cover a lot of ground, from brand to agency to digital vendor. How does a successful campaign look, and what makes it hyper-successful? We're going to cover creative, strategy, media delivery, campaign tracking, ROI analysis, and much more. Then go into Q&A so you can dig in as deep as you like. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists for the session, two great guys who we've actually been working with for some time. Please everyone meet the Mikes. Mike Franz, VP Marketing for ProYo, and Mike Wald, Chief Marketing Officer for Oniracom. I'll let them provide a little background on themselves and their experience. Mike Franz, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thanks, Cameron. My name is Mike Franz. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for ProYo, an innovative high-protein ice cream that you'll be learning about today. Prior to ProYo, I spent about 17 years in the consumer packaged goods arena in different capacities. And just very excited about what we're able to share here today in this program and this partnership with both InMarket and Oniracom.
Beautiful, thank you. Mike Wald, are you there?
Hello, thanks so much, Cameron and Mike. Always glad to join you guys. My name is Mike Wald. I'm CMO of Oniracom. We're a creative agency based out of Santa Barbara, California. We work in a lot of different categories and love our retail clients like ProYo, and we really focus on connecting that amazing storytelling with killer leading edge technology.
Very cool. In total transparency, we've actually done this panel live a couple times. Well, once with the three of us at the Place Conference in New York, and then Mike Wald and I were on the Retail Innovation Lounge at CES just a few weeks ago. So always get a lot of interesting discussions through this, and we have a lot more to add with today's session. So before we jump into the details of this campaign and the convergence of strategy and technology that it represented, we wanted to make everybody familiar with ProYo. And if you haven't had a chance to try it, you should definitely check out this fantastic product next time you're shopping for groceries and you get inspired for dessert. So we're going to show a short video right now to get you guys up to speed.
Six people try ProYo high-protein, low-fat ice cream for the first time.
Wow, another.
You have found the way to my heart. This is like the best thing ever.
Oh, wow. I think I could eat that like every meal.
Okay, everyone. So first, as a guy in his 40s who likes to work out and watch what he eats, I want to personally thank you guys for making it okay to eat ice cream again. ProYo is a great product, and I eat it all the time, guilt-free. So, but Mike Franz, I know ProYo has a very interesting backstory. How did you guys get started?
Yeah, ProYo started about 5 years ago as a novelty brand, and last year we made a transition from our early novelties and squeeze-up tubes, which were all high in protein, to a high-protein, low-fat ice cream. And this ice cream is really a first of its kind. It has over 35 grams of protein per container, 10 grams of protein per serving, and is really kind of this challenger brand. You know, we've been around for 5 years, but this new ice cream deliverable, which launched last year, quickly went into some seriously large retail environments over a 3-4 month period, and then as it began to roll out. Some of those being some of the largest retailers in the country, such as Kroger and Publix, and a few different Safeway divisions, among many, many others. So it's a pretty interesting market. in that there's really a large amount of competition. You know, the year prior to the launch of this 2017 initiative into ice cream, the ice cream category in 2016 finished the year at about 6.6 billion market cap in the U.S. And so it's really this interesting environment, heavy amounts of competition, such as from groups like Nestle and Unilever, even dryers. But the part of the category which is driving the business is really this new better for you ice cream segment, which has a huge amount of competition in and of itself, from new groups like Halo Top, Enlightened, and then there's us, and we kind of ProYo is positioned really as what I would call a challenger brand. You know, not only do we have to be competitive with the new groups of healthy and better for you ice creams, but we also have to make sure that we're getting the trial and acceptance and delivering the goods, if you would, against regular ice cream. And so our ice cream separates itself. Not only is it high in protein, but it tastes absolutely amazing. It really doesn't taste like you're skimping on ice cream. And so when you looked at that creative that we just showed in the video, it was our intention to really position ourselves as a leader in taste and leader in nutrition. And so we really partnered with Oniracom in this rollout to, provide a greater awareness for consumers that were headed into retail, and to drive really two things: some product sampling and trial, and also baseline sales. Because in this environment, you sell or you're gone. And fortunately, being smart about how we spent our money and where we spent our money, we were able to utilize in this campaign a few different solutions, and we'll talk about those through InMarket to help us cut through the clutter, if you would.
Great. Thank you for that context. Mike Wald, I wanted to give you a chance to speak as well as to how you outline for ProYo, the step-by-step and how you're going to get to their objectives, and how you guys as a team identified the objectives that Mike Francis mentioned there, and then how that led you to selecting a location partner as a solution.
Well, there's nothing more exciting for us than coming in with a challenger brand. I always love to be David versus Goliath, and I think that with so many brands out there that were swamping the market with their, honestly, product that tasted as good as the packaging it came in, and no better, right? And with ProYo, a product that we actually enjoyed, we opened up our first meetings with them with a tasting party, so we were sold. And what that really showed us was that we had to really go to market pushing on a taste component, really pushing on that as our way of reaching the right people and going for those individuals out there that were actually excited around that, not trying to barrage the market with a big shotgun approach, but really focusing on a strategic targeting of the right message to the right person at the right time. And I know that's a tried and true adage, and it's said all the time, but it's really effective. And where we took ProYo was looking at who are those core consumers, how could we reach them at the right geography, and as always here, we're working on a retail play. So it was taking people from an online ad or promotional video experience to drive them to an offline sale, which is tricky. It's notoriously tricky. And so the challenge was figuring out that right blend of marketing messaging and strategic targeting and the right technology partners that would allow us to hit the right people through our cash so that we could really have an outlay that was really, saw a solid return on investment and be really geographically focused, driving people who were in the right place to retail. And with a brand that's going national, it's so key. I don't care how many stores you're in, that requirement to really preach to the choir who are able to get to your product is so important. So focusing geographically was a no-brainer for us. And when we looked for a way to tie in that option from an online to an offline sale and in-store activation, InMarket was also a no-brainer for us, because that seamlessness that allowed us to put our content, whether it was static imagery or video, as part of the storytelling and an ease of use for that customer was huge.
Great, thanks for the context. So later in the webinar, we're going to go into a lot more detail about the what, the when, the how, as well as verified sales lift results, since let's be honest, that's the most important metric. However, I wanted to give you some results at the beginning to frame our conversation. And these are directly tied to the barometer KPIs that were brought to us and the trifecta of everybody on the phone here was shooting for. So anybody in digital knows that initial engagement is judged through a click-through rate. So through this campaign, we've ramped up to almost 4% click-through rate. Purchase intent was measured at a 3.2x increase, and brand awareness, because especially important because they're an emerging brand, was targeted at a 40.9% increase. This is over the course of 3 different campaigns over the course of most of last year. So, Mike Franz, as the closest one to the business, could you give us your thoughts on how these metrics tie into the planning of your overall product marketing plan, both digital and everything else that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, as a head of marketing, it's always a challenge as far as which marketing mix items you select, and you're continually, anyone that's been in this position, even in the agency position, doesn't really matter. Every dollar you spend counts. And you have to be able to produce some form of tangible ROI on this. And so many times in the selection of marketing mix items or devices, I see many marketers make the mistake of just saying, well, I think we can measure it this way, or I think we can measure it that way. The real tangibles for me were this idea of targeting our consumer and really serving up a measurable ad unit to them at the most optimal purchasing moments. It's not just a spray and pray approach. It's not just a trial and see what happens approach. It's really this really tight integration between the store, the online environment, and the consumer, and being able to tie things back to that in a very measurable way, whether it's through CTR, a scaled measurement of purchase intent over time, or just deeper brand awareness from the people that interacted with the ads on the platform. Being able to run that type of trial and awareness survey prior to launch, during launch, and after launch was really impactful for our business in proofing out the spend that we made in this campaign and the impact that it had on the overall business.
Very good. Thanks for that context. So in our minds, no good presentation uses only the screen on your desk, and we wanted to use the one in your pocket as well. So if everyone could please take out their phones and visit the following URL, you'll actually be able to experience some of the more exciting elements of the ProYo campaign. This will be up at a few different points within our ongoing discussion, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit more context on the creative, the media delivery, and how that fits into the overall shopper experience. So to give you more context, I think it would hurt us if we didn't go through the ways that InMarket actually productizes our outreach to our consumers. So at the top of the consumer engagement funnel, where we drive brand awareness, where we have audiences. This is who someone is. In ProYo's case, it would be someone like frequent gym goers or people that visit health stores. Next, we have preceptivity, which is when someone is likely to go on their next shopping trip. As we get closer to the moment of truth where decisions are made in store, we have our Moments product. These enable brands to engage consumers with full-page takeovers of their phone right as they're on the shopping trip, in the door, or even holding the product. All of these units were used in conjunction for the ProYo campaign, and we're going to go into a little bit of detail here. So preceptivity initially. This enables brands to target users throughout their digital lives when they're most likely to be planning a shopping trip and therefore most receptive. We can do this because as consumers, we all form patterns in our daily and weekly lives. When we go to work, when we go home, when we go to the store to shop for our families. By targeting immediately before a trip, it enables advertisers to double down on good media spend and eliminate wasted dollars following the trip. So from a preceptivity module, we saw a 0.2% click-through rate here, and this we see a baseline in the industry of 0.1%, so many times higher engagement. Mike Franz, could you give us a little context on the messaging cross-device and how that played in on reaching people on their home computer, on their tablets, on their desktop computers, and how you wanted to build brand awareness there?
Yeah, I think it's we have a highly sophisticated consumer set. We have 7 different personas that we're trying to attack at key times of day. And what was so impactful about this preceptivity piece is it really allowed us to, hit the consumer when they were most receptive to understanding or open to understanding about our brand, and really speak to them in a moment, if you would, when it counted most, and to cut through the clutter. So I really believe that serving up some of these ads within the display environments of where your consumers are headed, whether that's on a particular channel that they like or something that they're engaging in that fits the brand, it really went to it really helped us, I believe, cut through the clutter of just putting ads out in a display network to try to hit people. We're really looking at, and the thing that I found most attractive, Cameron, about InMarket is the fact that you guys sit on the as a native app on the back end of a bunch of other native apps on people's phones. So you're able to learn what people's trends and habits and shopping trips and when they're headed in. And so being able to serve someone ads 2 days prior to a shopping trip and knowing that these ads are being served up within anywhere from quarter to half mile of their when they're headed into the store, pretty impactful.
Cool. And Mike Wald, continuing on our discussion around targeting and timing, how does the right message play into that?
Well, you're looking at really where someone is in their shopping journey and thinking about who they are as a persona. And so a lot of our work initially was doing some deep audience intelligence, determining who the different personas were that were looking for ice cream with protein and low fat and low sugar and great taste. And they a lot of them self-identified and put themselves out there on the web, and they also do a lot of these different practices like looking at certain types of articles, reading different types of content, and kind of sharing a little bit about themselves as they go along their daily life. And we offered a few different options of messaging, both in the video that we shared and then some of these different types of imagery and advertising. And it's important when you run these different types of ads to think about their context and where they're going to see them and what they're going to get out of them. So we had a lot of different types of both color scheme. We worked with certain types of flavors of the ice cream to really see what was going to resonate the most with individuals, and then working with your team, Cam, to really figure out where the best placements were and with which partners and publishers that we could offer these up at. And a time of day has a lot to do with this because obviously you're trying to get someone to start touching them early before they even know that they're going to that store. And then when you hit them on the way to the store, hit them on their reading about running a party that weekend, or before 4th of July or the like, it gets into really exciting details to really see how you can best move the needle for a sale that's going to happen maybe days later. So you're not looking for that direct click into a purchase opportunity. You're looking just to tee them up so that you're top of mind when they finally make it into that Ralph's or Publix, you name it.
Beautiful. So now let's get into even more fun territory with our Moments product. Moments enable brands to message consumers right as they're entering a grocery store or on a shopping trip, and they're ready to make purchase decisions. This is the experience that you guys will see on inmarket.com/ProYo. If you didn't go to that page already, please visit it now. And as you can see from here, from a benchmark point of view, the initial metric for CTR is extremely high at 3.97%, nearly 4%. So Mike Franz, could you tell us how Moments played into your overall decision to launch this campaign and mature it and bring it to the next level?
Yeah, I really like the way that Moments interacted with Preceptivity. And so, it's nice to be able to serve up some display pieces to people in relevant conversations. However, it's even better to be able to serve up a reminder to them or to re-engage with those folks when you know that a shopping trip is imminent. And so for me, being able to talk to people and remind them, it's kind of like having a sticky note, if you would, where that you're headed to the store. This is a conscious reminder that pops up in the form of an in-store moment to remind that customer that's headed into the store, hey, remember ProYo? And it's like, oh yeah, it was that product I was reading and learning about, or it becomes where ProYo is part of the journey. And you're kind of, whether the shopper realizes it or not, you're indoctrinating them into a buying pattern and sharing through acceptance of fitting, in with their need state. You're fitting into their basket and showing how you fit into their basket, and serving up a reminder that it's fresh, relevant, and fits with the desire of that consumer is key. So when you looked at some of the ad units that Oniracom was able to help us create, they're relevant, they're timely, and they speak to our core values of having an outstanding product that supports your health and benefits through an amazing ice cream.
I love that,
Great,
Mike. I think that you're...
No, I was just about to send over to you, Mike Wald. Go for it.
Lovely. So, no, I love what you're saying there, Mike, about the sticky note. I think that I was speaking with someone the other day about this, that we don't, the classic marketing of years earlier, where you sort of knew that people were going to be watching this show at this time, and they all watched the evening news, and you could hit that big group of people who included your core demo, was way simpler. Today, where there's a huge mix of media where people are accessing content and reading the news and looking at articles and trying to find them in that right way and at that right time is so challenging. But I think there's a necessity for that brand to feel ubiquitous, right? You want to feel like you're always showing up for those right people in the right way. And so I think it's that tie-in of how you bring together that great, that storytelling of the product, and that leads them into understanding more about it, like sharing the, how much protein you can get from this great tasting product, and then leading them to more storytelling that cues them up to go, man, I've got to add that to my shopping list. And then working with someone like InMarket, who allows us to be that ad in the shopping list, encourage them to add it to the list, and hitting them in the cart to add it to their cart and find them on the freezer aisle is incredible. And there's that wayfinding, that ability to lead them down that path to purchase is so challenging. And I was so excited by this project because we could create that mix. And it's really magic when it works. It doesn't feel like you're hitting them over the head with a marketing hammer to go like whack-a-mole to go buy your product, and you're cold calling them and slamming over with it all the time. We're really fitting into their daily use of technology and reading their apps and adding to their shopping list and going to the store. We're just giving them a little nudge going, this is the right product for you. Here's why. Take it home and you'll prove it to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we all get hit with just dummy ads, and I hate it. It drives me bananas, right? Because they're so obtrusive. It's like someone forcing something on you all the time. And the thing about InMarket I really appreciated was through that Preceptivity, being able to serve up that ad unit at this right time, right place with something that's measurable and meaningful was so impactful for our business because it changed the perception, whether people realized it or not. The way that we were choosing to go to market with our ad units wasn't obtrusive. It was inclusive, and it was helpful. And so it almost becomes like where ProYo has a value-added play to that consumer versus a billboard in your pocket approach of buy me, buy me, buy me, you know. And I mean those type of ads drive people bananas, and I think that's where there's a big disconnect with, you know, digital advertising as a whole, in a lot of ways that they try to connect with the consumer. I really appreciated the approach that InMarket allowed us to activate around our consumers in a holistic way.
Very cool. Well, going on that, you guys have been talking about path to purchase and initial engagement. So brand awareness, I mean, that's obviously the initial step. And especially in the ice cream realm, you know, Mike, you talked about before, there's a lot of different choices here. Could you maybe give a little more context into what you were going up against, where you guys were at the beginning of the campaign versus later, both from a metrics point of view and how it relates to your overall launch and expansion of the product?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to give you without getting into like full revenue targets and everything, to give you an example, I mean, we grew our brand by over 400% during the year of 2017. It is an amazing amount of growth for us. I mean, that's humongous, right? And, you know, being able to cut through the clutter, there's a ton of clutter. I mean, let's just be very, very clear. I mean, I mentioned Nestle and Unilever and Dryers to start. I mean, those are the you know, the old or older brands, I should say, with huge deep pockets, along with Ben and Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs, and your everybody else, if you would. But the new age brands, you know, our biggest competitor, I'll say it, you know, it was Halo Top, and they came out and spent a boatload, you know, of money on all kinds of stuff. Purchasing in-store tactical pieces that we just couldn't, basically shutting out entire categories from purchasing other devices or using other devices in store. And so when you're shut out of things that most traditional marketers would look to in store, we had to be very smart, very creative, but also have something that would allow us measurement and insight into our consumers. And there's one thing that I know, ProYo tastes amazing. And when people try our product, they flip out. They're sold. It is like, whoa, oh my gosh, this tastes like real ice cream. It is real ice cream, you know, and they can't believe the protein and the low fat and, you know, the better for you attributes. The challenge is like, how do you compete against a group of competitors that are just outspending the market on all fronts? And so for us, we had to be able to do several things. One, we had to make the right ad spend and make it, because every dollar counts as a challenger brand. But more importantly, make sure that it was measurable and that it was impactful. And so looking at our you know, awareness levels prior to campaign, during campaign, mid-campaign, and then after the campaign, you know, this in-market solution allowed us to really dig into those measurables and talk to our consumer in the right way, but more importantly, show measurable impact on shelf for every dollar we spent as a marketing unit. And even more importantly, be able to share that and what we were able to accomplish with our retail partners. We further differentiate ourselves from everybody else on the shelf. Even though we're a smaller brand, when we go in and talk with our retail partners, we have the greater retail awareness and depth that most larger brands, far larger brands, those like a Unilever or Nestle would even come in with. because we are able to do things and serve up conversations with consumers in dynamic ways that are really where the future, I believe, of advertising and shopper marketing is headed.
Right, and as you've been talking, I flipped through a few slides here just to give the more quantitative people on the line a little bit of info on how we came up with these metrics. Actually, through a survey with nearly 1,000 respondents, asking, just like you said, at the beginning, towards the middle, and after the campaign, their overall awareness based on the choices you had just laid out. And that's the methodology for this nearly 41% increase. Mike Wall, do you want to give any more context on how brand awareness fits into the overall campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, to be fair kind of across this campaign, we did a full omni-channel approach to this. So in addition to our work within market, we were running some more of the, I would even call them more of the traditional digital advertising work with Facebook and social media advertising through some other portals, as well as our Google ads and the like, pushing coupons and all kinds of other ways of kind of lifting people's awareness of the brand. And I think that anyone who's competitive right now has to do that. You've got to be, you have to be ubiquitous, I'm saying. So you have to be working on all these different platforms. And just like Franz was saying, we completely believed in the taste being that lifting point, that once you got someone to have that first taste, they would be locked in and sold on it. But that's a challenge. Getting someone to buy that ice cream and get that first taste is tough. So even that video you saw, what was actually really incredible about that is we went out there and studied through our intelligence work who were those personas that fit with ProYo's key customer groups. We then found our models, not actors, like the actual models that we brought in were one for each persona, and that was their real first taste on film. And what was so incredible was like actually getting that true reaction to try to show people that you just need to try this once and you'll be hooked. And that's what we've seen really on a consistent basis in our work here, was that the challenge was getting them over that first hump of buying that pint, getting in there to buy the product, a new product, a small product on the shelf, not nearly advertising to the same extent of some of those big players who own the large size of the freezer aisle and have those, end caps and the rest of it, but we knew we tasted better. And with that really comes that challenge of getting them to cart. And so I love the way that we were able to tell this story in showing someone that, teaching them that, telling them again, and leading them there with this trail of breadcrumbs through technology and advertising. And that to me is the magic behind it. Is it didn't feel, again, like that sledgehammer. It felt very natural. The people that bought this product, when I've run large ad campaigns for a lot of other clients, you get a good set of negative response. We didn't get any negative response to this campaign. It was really incredible. People were just so excited to find this product, and were like, "Oh my God, why did I not know this existed before you told me about it?" And that's that warm glow feeling I don't get all the time. So I loved it. I can't wait to do it again.
Right, and it's great you bring up. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that, and to be able to have something, Cameron, where it's measurable and that it's not just something that is an advertisement on a phone, but actually someone's picking up and interacting with your product in the aisle even. That even goes the extra mile for me as a marketer, because so many times, you can serve up digital ad units and say, oh, we targeted all these people and we talked to all these people, but did it have an impact on your business? Did they pick up the product? And InMarket actually has a solution that allows you to go even further with it to understand in-hand moments as well. I find that a tactical advantage, if you would.
Right, and what I was going to say, to your point of using multiple vendors in a holistic channel, I think it goes back to our point before of always selecting a vendor that has analytics as a key mindset moving forward. So these metrics were for control, used during control exposed testing, so we can actually see through device ID and programmatic, if someone is exposed to the ad, are they actually noticing it? Are they becoming aware of ProYo and that they are, it is an option for their lives? And then how does that awareness directly correlate, directly create causality into the lift in the metrics that we're talking about. The reason for our success, the reason for Facebook's success, because they are both a media and analytics company, and you can have the delivery, creative, and analytics all in one platform. So, and going on that on this, I kind of wanted to end here with the big crescendo, as we call it. But we promised at the beginning we were going to show true sales analysis in the real world. And so I wanted to, with the limited time that we have left, focus on the Kroger sales impressions analysis that we've all seen here. Little bit of context on this. The blue line is impressions that were delivered through these campaigns. There's actually 3 campaigns, if you see the 3 spikes there. And then the orange line is units that were sold through verified sales data from the retailer. And we see this in a lot of different campaigns, but what we're seeing here is a campaign effects or effectiveness window. And it goes and directly tracks through the conversation we've just been having of you need to make people aware that the product is available before you're even in consideration. Then with your amazing creative, you get them to try it, and then the product sells itself, and you see the window of increase in sales come after that. It's part of the strategy of acquisition, development, redevelopment, and so on and so forth. And what we're seeing here, because we were able to do it in these three windows, to give some context on here, is the window is actually shrinking as we move forward into the 3 campaigns, where initially we had to get over the big hump that Mike Franz was talking about, it being an emerging brand that wasn't very clear to the consumer, or they weren't aware that they were in consideration, then trying the product out. They love the product and moving forward. So wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, now that we're talking brass tacks on real revenue driven from the strategy, and, even more than that, the repeatable elements of it as well. Mike Franz?
Yeah, I think, looking at the overall data, it's definitely something where, we entered Kroger in April, and we've wrapped our campaign at the end of October. But it's very, very evident in looking at the campaign effect of the media to relationship of the sales. There is definitely a correlation there, and it does begin to narrow and become more impactful over time. Now, we also ran our awareness studies through InMarket during this period, one prior, one in the middle, and then one at the end. And so we were able to see these measurable stepstones of higher awareness levels in relation to a narrowing of ad units to sales in the channel very, very clearly, and you can see this here as the ad units began to push through, it began to compress a bit more. Now, we do have a little bit of seasonality in our product. Let's just be very clear with that, as do most ice cream companies. So when you sell, really from that late May to early October time frame. If depending on the season, it could even be mid-September. But the effect of the media on the sales definitely impacted, and we're using Kroger here, but we ran this across a host of retailers, including some of the largest ones here in the United States. So we're very happy with the impact that this is able to show, because I think it really kind of proofs out, if you would, that being smart about your ad, where it's placed, how it's placed, and the timing of the placement, along with the smart ways to go about it by utilizing some of these in-hand, in-aisle moments that InMarket can provide. It really kind of wraps the whole package together for us, and had a dramatic impact on our business for 2017. So the fact that we could measure the spend, measure the impact, look at the ad units, and then see this where you see this direct correlation of the narrowing of the campaign effect windows. It really made sense for us from a smart, practical, tactical marketing front.
Beautiful. Mike Wald, do you want to give any context on it?
Well, I love again, for me, the proof's in the pudding, right? You can make amazing creative, you make a gorgeous video, everyone's super happy, it's on brand, you get great views on it, you can run ads all day and have great click-through rates and all of it, but the reality comes, does it move the bottom line? And end of the day here, that was the most successful part of this, and that's what anyone will look at years down the road, no matter how the great storytelling is. You can't talk your way, out of a lack of sales and real movement of the brand. And to show that we both increased, the huge brand awareness with a new like challenger brand going national, and then the monster movement on sales, and that ability to track that from online to offline just really showed what we did here. And we're endlessly proud of our work, because it's not just a product we're excited by that nobody found out about. It was a product that we were excited by, that we were able to tell the masses about and show that brand lift, in an easy to quantify manner. And that's so important. Too often I hear about campaigns where people are talking about how great the ads did and they never move the needle on sales. And our role as an agency partner with any of the brands we work with is that bottom line goal. I got to keep them on brand. I got to make creative that's relevant and makes sense, but it's effectiveness, and to show that effectiveness undeniably is really important for us. And that's part of why I love working with you guys, Cam, is you get that out of anyone. I know for you, coming out of that world and being in the same place, same shoes that I've been in, you get that beyond a shadow of a doubt, and that's so important for us in working with a partner, because Franz, end of the day, can't justify putting ad dollars into something that doesn't move the needle, especially as a small company who's fighting up against the big boys. They got to be smart with every buck, and to show it undeniably is where it's at.
Right. Well, we love working with you too. So, well, I think at this time we're getting a ton of questions through the Q&A. By the way, guys, there's the chat box in the presentation tool. Ask us any question. We're getting a ton, so I think it's probably a good time to move to Q&A. The first one, we were talking about creative and driving the needle. So, Mike Wald, if you want to jump in here, the first question is, given consumers' short attention spans, what type of creative works really well in a store or in that kind of location? You can bridge from this campaign or give your feedback as a digital veteran.
I think that it's hitting up with something that's got a really high contrast for visibility. I know that was one of the things that is an advantage of working with ProYo and working with Franz, is they got that. You have to make sure that your message is clear. It's being simple, it's being straight to the point, and it's understanding what your consumer is looking for. We spent a lot of time working with ProYo analyzing several million social conversations that happened across the U.S. around ice cream and protein, looking at specifics around them and finding that taste was that main focal point that led us to our first taste campaign. We could have just as easily and just as defensively said, we're going to do a whole campaign about protein, or low glycemic levels because low sugar is the way to go. But we really looked and found that taste was the tying bind for these consumers. And so the focal point was making sure that was preeminent and coming up very high on our way of presenting the product. When you look at their competitors, it also helps from a differentiation point, because their competitors are selling Calorie Point. Halo Top and the other brands are leading with that. That's the front of their packaging. Breyers came out with a competitor, challenged their own brand last year, and they have basically, they ripped off Halo Top's packaging. They were putting their own Calorie Point right in front. With ProYo, we were pushing with protein as a big part of it, and then taste being our lead for our marketing, and really keeping that strength and consistency, and then seeing that it worked.
So, Mike Franz, I know you have a lot to do with this, and I know obviously you've been talking about taste as one of the biggest things here. messaging for this campaign and your brand overall. How did you come across your current strategy?
Well, we really look at all the different points of contact with the consumer prior to selecting any campaign, but taste is king. If your product doesn't taste good, start there. It's gotta taste good. And if you're gonna say that you're an ice cream, it's gotta taste like an ice cream, and it's gotta be believable. And we have a real ice cream that has significant taste and delivers a much more value per bite. It's really about bang for the bite when you talk about protein and low fat and the other nutritionals that it delivers. And so, for us, in the past, I think we've tried to over communicate so many things, but at the end of the day, through listening and using and setting up some social listening posts with the Oniracom team, and then being able to filter down and really understand that taste trumps everything. There's consumers out there that will go and buy something because their friend told them to go and try it, right? And there's a lot of hype around certain things and products out there. But so many of them get disenfranchised when they find out that their friend told them to try something and it tastes like crap. Taste trumps. Taste trumps all. And if you can deliver great tasting product in a dynamic way that fits your consumer, you're going to win, especially if it's priced adequately and you've done all the other things, on the front end to make sure that you have the right positioning and price and all that in store. But if you've done all that right, and you're going to go have a conversation with a consumer, and you've done the research and you know who they are, and you can serve up that ad unit at the right place at the right time, you can have success from an online environment to an offline environment.
So on that point, on online, offline, sort of flipping it, we just got a really good question in, and this is something I think about in my role and actually comment and write about a good amount, but check this out. Is ice cream and frozen food category in general insulated from the growing e-commerce trends for grocery? Mike Franz?
I wouldn't say that it's insulated from e-commerce. I would just say that e-commerce has challenges when it comes to serving up deliverables to its consumers. So, when you're talking about ice cream, you're talking about a perishable product that has to not only be frozen and kept frozen on dry ice in majority of cases, it has to be shipped. And so when you look at a lot of e-commerce deliverables, there's challenges to that in delivering a quality product at a reasonable price. But when you add weight and you add freight to that, typically in ice cream, you're serving, if you're going to sell online, you have to serve that up in with dry ice, which is heavy, and it has to be delivered within 2 days. Which compresses your time frame and increases your cost. So it's all about providing the right value to the consumer. I don't know if the channel is set up for that currently. I believe there's still opportunity, but I will say this, that e-commerce is evolving, and even with changes in the environment from a retailer perspective, where more retailers are becoming more online, future's pretty bright, I would say, for a frozen brand to come out and just kill it online. But they're going to have to overcome the weight and delivery system. But it's there. It's coming. It's just a matter of time. So just look at the Amazon deal. I mean, look at Amazon comes in and buys Whole Foods. Well, all of those Whole Foods locations are now delivery, Amazon delivery waypoints, right? So all of this
100%.
is changing dramatically. So the future's bright, I think, for frozen.
Mike Wald, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was going to say that that's totally to Franz's point there, that I think that there's definitely a challenge for direct-to-consumer. I don't think you will necessarily see a Shopify site starting up and selling ice cream direct as an easy route. I think that'll be a challenge for a while, but the going, as a vendor, playing with the groups that have those distribution channels, the Amazon Prime, the Google service as well, those will be maturing quickly, and will offer a route for vendors to tie in for same day delivery of product. Even through the platforms like the Uber Eats, those I remember just the .com boom, being up in Silicon Valley and experiencing all the grocery delivery services that started, and then they fell off because they got too expensive. They're finally coming back because the market's ripe for it again. And so it was always a good idea. Now people are ready to buy into it, and I think it's going to really change the vendor market over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Prime Now, Amazon, Amazon's changing of Whole Foods, coupled with your other groups out there, your Peapods of the world that can deliver perishables as well, your Fresh Directs of the world that can deliver perishables. So, it really comes down to, what's the consumer willing to pay, and what's the service that they'll receive for the value that they're willing to pay.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, is there anything you guys wish you could get out of location and location strategies that's not there yet? Is there, from a metrics point of view, if you know something absolutely unknowable, what would that be? Might be asking you to predict the future a little bit.
So I think, so just coming from my perspective, and this is work that I'm getting asked about from a lot of clients, I think that the tying together of the sentiment and emotional state of someone and bringing that in as part of that location information. So we do a lot of work finding out sentiment and emotional response to advertising, to an experience, to an airport, to a high-rise building for renters, to a company for HR. That's a lot of the work that I do. And with location-based data, being able to get a real-time sense of someone's sentiment and emotional state, it would be amazing. That you could see if they're really in that buying position, even if they're just in even if they're in the right location, it doesn't mean that they're receptive to purchase right then. But understanding their mood and those type of things, which we're getting, which is slowly evolving, that's going to really change the game.
So additional attribution in conjunction with additional visibility into a wide variety of engagement factors. Very cool. So we're actually getting a lot of questions too on the platform and capabilities. So I'll roll through some of these for you guys, although I would invite you to go to inmarket.com and view some things there, as well as inmarketdemo.com on your mobile device. You can see a wide variety of different uses for moments through different verticals. And that was one of our questions. Is InMarket only for CPG, or can you work with other categories? We can work in virtually any way where you would need to where it would make sense to engage somebody when a decision is being made, which, let's be honest, in the physical world out there is a wide variety of factors. We work with a lot of, say, auto dealers, so to speak. We work with a good amount of pharmacies. Anything where consumers consumers are taking a recommendation from someone and making choices in the real world. And as our CEO always says, what brands always wanted to do throughout their life is whisper in the ear of the consumer as they're making decisions, and that's what we do here at InMarket. There's also another question as to the limitation from which retailers we can target. No, location is ubiquitous, and moment strategy and in-market strategy can be applied throughout any type of physical consumer space. So let's see. Another question here. How much of the success of this campaign was related to partnerships with retailers? Did you guys have any strategic partnerships with retailers? I know you mentioned Kroger.
We didn't have any like specific retailers tied to this promotion, if you would, or this vehicle. We looked at all of our retailers and directed in-market initiatives to be placed against those core retailers. So we looked at it in a form of, where are we sold, and how can we speak to the consumers that visit those locations. We weren't necessarily going in saying, hey, Kroger, let's do this promotion and all of these things. All of our promotions were already set for the year with the majority of our retailers. And some of them even changed mid-year, so which is totally fine because we ran within market over the top of all of them. So our goal wasn't necessarily to go in and leverage the buying relationship, if you would, and increase promos at all during the period. We already knew what was to take place at the retail level, and we were just looking to heighten the overall awareness of the shoppers that were within those channels.
Right. Okay. Well, you mentioned time frame, so we only have 3 minutes left. But with that, I wanted to ask you guys what's coming up for ProYo in 2018.
ProYo is going to take some bold new steps this year. Starting at Expo West, we'll be announcing some things. Expo West is our large natural foods exposition out here on the West Coast in Anaheim. It's the largest natural foods products expo, I believe, in the world. And so we'll be releasing some new things there, maybe a few tweaks and changes. Always something fun up our sleeve, but we are continuing to press with some new flavors. We're continuing to press with some additional new deliverables, and so we're excited. The future for ProYo and the team here is very bright.
Beautiful. Well, I think with that, we'll give everybody 2 minutes of their life back. Mike Franz, Mike Wald, thank you so much for your time today. I think everybody found it very informative. We have a good amount more questions in here, but unfortunately, we're out of time. Again, I would invite you to visit oniracom.com, ProYo.com, or InMarket.com for more info, and submit a contact request on our page. We're more than happy to reach out to you guys and provide more one-on-one consulting and how you could do something similar for your business. So I know Retail Dive has recorded this, and they're going to be listing it on their website, as well as we will as well on InMarket.com. So thanks, everyone. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.